right, guys. Before we get into things here, let me briefly talk about Ecoturnal Weekend. We all know Eternal Weekend is coming, but how do you like Ecoturnal Weekend as a couple of warm-up tournaments? I have a cool sponsorship from Card Titan. They are giving out a weekend pass and a main event ticket to anybody who registers before August 1st. I have paintings lined up from Kai Sawatarix. One for the winner of Legacy, one for the winner of Vintage. Kai will sit down with you and execute your idea. So let's say you win the tournament with whatever your favorite deck is. He can make this happen, just like he did last year for Kelvin Wallace and Max Stortion, who won in Legacy and Vintage, respectively, at Eternal Weekend. I think they got some awesome Luris and Grim Monolith paintings, winning with Luris Control and Mystic Forge. So let me just quickly walk you through the details here. These are the dates. Legacy, September 6th. Vintage, September 20th. It's going to be starting at 7 a.m. Pacific, played on Magic Online with closed deck lists, Swiss, and a top 8, so we play all in one go. Here's the prices, whether you want to become a subscriber, awesome. Whether you don't, and you just want the one-shot ticket, all good. And as I told you, the painting is the main prize, but I also guarantee 500 treasure chests for the Legacy portion and 10 more per player. So let's say over 80. So let's say there's 81 players. That means 510 treasure chests. Let's say it's 40 players, 500 treasure chests guaranteed. This is the deal of a lifetime and should be a lot of fun as well. Vintage, similar. Here's the date, same details, except I'm lowering this number to 40. I expect Legacy to be way more popular than Vintage. 200 treasure chests guaranteed and plus 10 per player over 40. So let's hope to see you over there. I think this is a no-brainer to put in the calendar. I hope you feel the same. Now let's get into some Legacy. All right, everyone, we're back. Let's play some Magic the Gathering here on the channel. In front of me, I have a sweet Izzet Cutter deck. This deck is highly competitive, has been for a long while. Let me quickly talk about this card, Corey Steel Cutter. So you basically want to play this card and then another card to go get a monk, get things going. Then you want to overwhelm the opponent basically by going wide. You're getting rewarded for chaining cantrips. That's why I added a couple of more preordains. You're getting rewarded for double spelling. That's why I added a couple of Urza's Baubles. I also added a 19th land and a splash. I tried to solve this deck's issue with Baragorth. So I have Molten Collapse in my sideboard. This card is also good at killing Chalice of the Void, Thought-Knot Seer, whatever Eldrazi creature is getting cast. But mainly it's, Baragorth and Chalice of the Void flexible answer card. This deck is a little bit more threat light than the traditional versions, so that means that we will be doing a bit more digging. We will be leaning harder on Steel Cutter and Murktide Regent, but hopefully we can still get the Channeler Bolt experience and Combat Reanimator a little bit that way. Speaking of Reanimator, Triple Surgical in my sideboard. It's a hard one to pick the right graveyard hate for this deck, I feel like, but I went with the one with the most synergy between, Channeler, Cutter, and Murktide. Even, I guess, recur with Tamiyo. Very standard stuff aside from that. We have the blasts, we have the negations, and we have the consign, colorless elemental blast. And yeah, Molten Collapse in the flex slots to take care of what is this deck's biggest fear, like a deck full of, Nethergoyfs, Baragorths, etc. So yeah, let's run through some matches and see how it goes. All right, round one, I'm playing Izzet Cutter / Molten Collapse, and yeah, that's a mulligan. And there's an easy keep. So I think I should get rid of the Borrower here, because Channeler, Double Bauble, Wasteland Days is like a very good plan, and Brazen Borrower is going to be the most situational out of the bunch. Let's play Channeler. Let's hopefully find a good card on the second bubble and a bad card on the first one. Opponent is considering whether this card should resolve or not. Maybe. I'm going to daze back here if I get forced. Usually it's not the card you want to fight over, but, could easily be correct in any given spot. Huh. So I think I'm supposed to bottom this because I am going to be drawing some, you know, natural draws here. Oh, oops, all spells. Sheesh. That's a problem. So let's see. Yeah, let's keep this daze for 2 reasons. One reason is if I get discarded and the opponent has turn 2 where they exactly tap out, then I can use my wasteland to, you know, to still have protection. The second reason for keeping it is, let's see. So the first, if my opponent has like back-to-back, they get dazed on the first one, dazed on the second one. Yeah, let's keep this. The problem is I'm now telling my opponent that I that I kept the card, which, you know, should tip them off to not go. Oh, wow. That is a draw and a half. Okay. So I was about to say that should tip them off that they shouldn't go for it, but wow, yeah, force of will. That is crazy. So now I feel like I daze this and keep things moving. Then they pay with a spirit guide and we kind of take the fight later. I think that's totally fine. I feel like if they have a pact, they will go for it here. Let's mill over this Murktide. That brings me to Delirium, which may or may not be relevant this game. Let's see. Okay. That was a very, very good exchange for me. Lightning Bolt. Attack for 3. I will bolt them end of turn to try and find a live card of sorts. Cradle, Ritual, get dazed. That's obviously very good for me. Sadly, my opponent did not play a land, but I guess that's what made Daze live in the first place, so I guess I can't be that sad. So the Force was obviously incredibly lucky, so I'm interested to see if this Daze will become good later. Okay, the opponent is passing once more. I will bolt and try and keep things moving here. Yeah, I mean, I do like that card, I must say. Now I'm going to play this out so I have Hardcast Daze. Oops, all spells. It's always a scary deck because you don't have the info necessarily that is going to be what you're facing. So, yeah, I got pretty lucky here having the interaction. With that being said, I think the opponent could still win this game, right? They would have to get pretty lucky. This clock is getting quite fast. Draw. Let's play this one. I can surveil end of turn to get a look at something. Let's do that. Thundering Falls. Can I find a live card? Brainstorm's better than a random card. Let's cast Brainstorm. Surveil a Brainstorm into the yard because of mana situation. Let's see. So I put those back. I kill my opponent next turn. All right. My opponent's at 5. I have double layered protection. And they didn't do anything. Nice. All right. Playing against Oops All Spells. We have some cards that certainly aren't great, like 4 bolts and at least a single cutter. Then we have cards that are situationally strong. On top of these cards, which are always going to be strong. I feel like Pyroblast is decent because of Pact of Negation, but I don't want it in large numbers. So let's say my opponent is playing Charbelcher. Then what? So the basic land can probably go here. Or a wasteland. I'm not necessarily super high on wasteland here. We can cut a wasteland. for a Pyroblast. That's kind of easy. And we find one more cut. That could be a cutter, speaking of, and then just 2 Pyroblasts. I think this is fine. And then we hopefully get to confirm, or the opposite, whether my opponent's on packs or not. Okay, this is certainly a hand that can, you know, that won't die on turn 1. So now we just have to find something to attack our opponent with. Channeler being the best one, obviously, but even something like Murktide or Cutter is not that far off. So my opponent's on a mulligan to 6. Let's see what this is. This is a Duress. I'm going to let Duress resolve here. The opponent's going to see a lot of counters. The opponent takes Force of Will. And worth noting is that Force of Negation doesn't counter the creatures, so taking Force of Will is certainly correct from my opponent's side of the table. I think there's no chance my opponent beats me right now, so maybe I should wait on this bauble to basically see what happens on my opponent's turn. I think that's slightly better. Okay, let's try that. I do want to dig one card deeper. If I had a cutter in hand, I could consider slow rolling the bauble, but I don't think that's feasible here. There's Dark Ritual. So I have Force of Negation. I don't really see how this goes wrong. I guess the card Cabal Therapy has something to say about this, but I think this is fine. Oh, Baragoyf, that is kind of cool. Okay, so let's go Surveil. Surveil, and maybe I should bobble my opponent first before making this decision. I think that's decent. Cabal, not a good card. And now let's make my decision. I do like the Wasteland, I must say. So, Daze the Baragoyf. If my opponent has a Spirit Guide, I'll force it. I think that's reasonable. My opponent has a Spirit Guide and I force it and I Wasteland my opponent. They are very, very far behind. If I get to keep this force, I really love my situation. So let's see. Do I get dazed? I get dazed. Okay, that's annoying. So let me force it with negation. I don't think double negation is where I want to be. The opponent plays out second land, and I'll wasteland my opponent. All right. So this game is kind of coming to a stall. Does this matter at all? What I kill? I'm not sure. Opponent with 2 cards. They know about my hand. Let's see if we can find a threat to put this away. This card is not good against my opponent's setup. I don't think they have pacts with Baragoyfs. I think that would just be kind of bad. Okay, so maybe this is where I cast a Brainstorm on the main phase to see what's up. Objective is to find a blue card and a live card, and I found neither. That is terrible. So let's put those cards back. Let's see what's going on top of the opponent's deck, and I draw a random card. I don't have any black in my deck, so let's do like this. Pass. Draw. I don't connect the blue card, so in theory, my opponent can crush me here. Yeah, I mean, you got 3 mana. And here's another Baragoyf. Wow. Okay, so I found a way to lose this game. That was annoying. Let's see here. So, Cameo. Is that good? Let's see. My game plan is probably trying to find that one Brazen Borrower that I'm fairly sure I have in here. I guess Murktide trades with this card, so it's probably not the end of the world. I just found a way to not automatically win this game. Let me put it that way. So let's see here. If I go Cutter, Tamiyo, Bobble, I think that's going to be good. So Cutter. Let's fetch this one. Play Tamiyo. Get a Monk. Let's see the opponent's card. Rotting Regisaur. That's funny. Surgical. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to lose to that card. Unless I really hurry. Rotting Regisaur. Yeah, this is really bad. All right. Let's attack with Tamiyo. Let's crack a clue and see if we can do anything cool here. There's a Ponder, which will give me a Monk. Oh, no, I forgot. Okay, it's not going to give me a Monk just yet. So now I have... I need to use Surgical, which is all right. Drawing Force a Will, so I don't lose to the Regisaur. Okay, let's see. So play like this. Surgical, I guess. Baragoyf? I think that's decent. So I go like this. So let's take those out of the equation. The opponent even brought in Ley Lines. That's kind of cool. So let's have a look at this setup. Opposition Agent. Okay, they're just going full creature here. All right. With 2 mana in play. Let's get rid of those. Let's pass. So I have 2 Channelers on top of my deck. Let's see if I can do anything cool out of the graveyard with Tamiyo. And now the opponent has to worry about Bolt, but I don't think they are. 3 power creature coming in hot. Let's chum block. Dark Ritual is fine. Then I force the Regisaur. And now I can go Channeler. Return Ponder, I guess. Let's see. Channeler. I do like me that card. Yes. These cards. So that means I'll be drawing Channeler. I'll play Channeler. I'll probably double block, and then I have to rebuild from there. I think that's fine. So, like this. I will attack here, and then I will double block the Baragoyf. Draw another Channeler, and hopefully play from there. Tricky game, I must say. Okay, the opponent is attacking here. I'll double block. Not the best trade I've ever made, but the circumstances are a bit unique here, playing against Oops Old Spells creature plan. So, uptick. Now I should think about what to do with this card. Hold or play. I feel like I should play it, because I'm fairly sure recurring Ponder next turn will lead to me double spelling. Oh, also I can give it haste here, so. The hidden mode. Let's see if the opponent can get out of this. Let's return Ponder to my hand. Ponder into something, hopefully, that triggers. That does not trigger. Let's look at 3 more. That is a sure trigger that gets rid of one of the lands. So that is a monk. Attacking for 7. These cards are quite bad, but I think the fact that I can get rid of one of the deltas is acceptable. Yes. Yes, opponent. I know I have a bad card on top, so guess I just do this. Opponent draws a pedal, so in theory they could have the Regisaur in hand and jam it. Okay, we're working on the opponent's life total here. I've ran out of, let's say, double spelling potential. The opponent had to pass, and I draw a cantrip, so very ideal. I have to get very unlucky here to not trigger the cutter. Let's see. Also, I got rid of all the Baragoyfs, so unless... I actually should have paid attention if my opponent had the card Reanimate in there. I like my opponent's plan. It seemed like a good plan to have a lot of must counters here. I think Cutter is pretty good at keeping the Regisaur at bay. And then I have to, like, trait with Murktide on a Baragoyf. I don't know. Their setup could be better than the alternative, though. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sold because you can actually lose fair games despite resolving a bunch of creatures. All right, let's see here. Murktide, what a card. Draw. Okay, so if I put back, let's see. I wonder if wastelanding my opponent here is going to be valuable. I think it's going to be fine. Maybe I go like this. Let's try and keep Delirium here. So instant, 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 instant. I can just get rid of 5 instants, I believe. Oh, funnily enough, I forgot about the haste thing again. Maybe that's going to be slightly better. Let's see. All right, that was a sweet one. I was under pressure there for a little bit. I had a hand full of forces. My opponent actually had a decent counterplay. I think they're like 1 discard spell off from, you know, actually picking my hand apart and riding off to the sunset with Baragoyf, but we found a way to get there with some chum blocks and then chaining spells using Tamiyo as very, very good fuel for the cutter. All right, we got there round 1. Let's keep it up. All right, let's play some more Magic here. Unfortunately, we have to send this hand back. Another Zero Lander. I can't recommend that if you want to win games. Okay, so here I think I pretty safely can put back the second Daze. I think that card is going to be just fine, but nothing crazy. Okay, so maybe I'm supposed to ponder first, and if I find a cutter, I slow down on the bauble. I think that's how I'm supposed to play. I think it's very important when you're playing this deck that you don't slow roll baubles for no reason. You should have like a known reason to do so. Let's have a look at these cards. I can draw into every one of those cards with the bauble, but I actually don't think that's very good. I'm actually gonna go any order and shuffle here. Mishra's Bauble. Mm. So now, I guess we just get rid of these baubles and carry on. We really want to draw into some stuff. And drawing into Force of Will could be useful. So, oh, I I thought I had 2 Mishra's baubles. I obviously should have looked at my opponent's top card. My brain just went, oh, I already know that's a force, but that was a card in hand. Okay, so we draw into some cards we already, you know, had access to. Let's start our turn with a ponder here. Okay. So here is basically one good card, and then I'm gonna fetch away here, I believe. So now I pass because I want to go Cutter Ponder. Then I Surveil end of turn. That's decent. Brainstorm end of turn. I think that's fine. Ooh, wait a minute. I could have done something cool there. If I daze that Brainstorm and I leave my bauble on top of the deck. Problem is I don't remember the order I put them in. I should have hedged for this. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be having a showdown here. Let's daze a stock up. So we're up against some show and tell strategy. My opponent already has a Force of Will in hand, but they didn't want to fire it here. Okay. So now, I guess let's see if I'm a... Genius is probably stretching it, but let's try and draw here and see if it's the bauble. Okay, so now the Cutter is kind of a... The Cutter is a live card, let me just put it that way. Problem is I'm losing to my opponent having any kind of payoff in hand. Alongside a land, I guess. There's a ponder. That card is what I'm hoping my opponent's going to cast. Let me put it that way. Problem is I'm racing here and know they have a Force of Will, so they will just crush me with show and tell and payoff here. This is sneak attack. This is show and tell. Okay, so I basically lose here unless... Let's try and think. Is there any way this daze is going to do anything? No, it's not. All right, so on to the next game here. Sure. Okay, there's a sneak attack. So in this case, if I daze, my opponent maybe can't sneak, but then they just put in the creature, you know, right away. So I guess we look at these cards and concede. Okay, so the Pentet Prism version, that's good to know. We have a lot of good cards here. So 7 good ones. Let's see here. Bold is not good. Brazen Borrower is not good. Can easily cut on threat. 7 for 7 is pretty clean. And then from here, it's basically about if I want something like 1 Consign or 1 Surgical, but I don't think that's how you play. I think this is just a good, very, very strong deck to register. All right. Yeah, Sneak and Show is dangerous when you can, you know, cast stock up, get it countered. You don't get wastelanded. You keep going with your mana base. That's really where you want to be when you're playing Sneak. All right, opponent's on a mulligan here. I have a good one. I can go turn 1 Chandler plus Bauble. This is another one of those cases where, let's say I have the second lane already. Then you can think about slow rolling the Bauble for the Cutter. But I think here we just... yeah, that's not gonna do anything. So let's see what the opponent's working with. City of Traders, sure. And there's a land. So City of Traders means the opponent can go... show and tell or stock up next turn, so that's why I kind of have to pass. I feel like I'm priced into that. I'll go for a surveil end of turn if nothing weird happens. If I had 3 types in the yard, I could have surveilled before damage here to try and get lucky. Okay, the opponent's slow rolling that City of Traders. Land. This land makes, you know, this land enables me to play the cutter. Is that even good? Or should I kind of keep looking for a blast and going all in on this card? I'll try the latter here. Okay, so ironically, this is now, I can trigger my cutter, but then I tap down. So I don't think I'm allowed to do that. We'll try and do this instead. Am I in the market for drawing that card now or knowing about my opponent's top card? I think I'm in the market for drawing it now. I just feel like they'll surveil end of turn here, and then I kind of lose the info. Okay, that doesn't happen. So the opponent draws a pedal that hopefully doesn't do anything. I have double backup. I feel like I need to hit a random blue card in order to be safe here. Okay, so I think now it's time. Let's go cutter. Getting to delirium here would be awesome. If the opponent fights, I'm not going to do anything here. Okay, we keep hitting lands and artifacts. That's not really how this is supposed to go on these random flips. Let's play Urza's Bauble. Okay, well, we certainly good at that. So 2 types in the yard here with 10 cards. That's not good. So very slow clock here. I feel like the difference between barely winning and barely losing this game is going to be whether I can connect on that second blue card before I'm dead. Let's see what this is. This could be just thinning. Yeah, the opponent is thinning. That is really not ideal. So, yeah. Bad clock over here, and the opponent has a ton of mana. And I just probably drew the worst card in my deck, I would imagine. Wasteland is really not going to do anything here. I feel like I'm in trouble here. I can't, it's so funny. Not even Hasted Murktide does anything here. 0 instants and sources in the yard. I think it just takes like 1 good cantrip to get to the spot where I want to be. But the problem is then I'm using a blue card, and I'm probably just passing if I draw a Ponder here. Draw a Force of Will. I understand. Okay. Do I even bother wastelanding? Or do I believe that drawing a Force of Will is, or sorry, a 5th land turning on Force of Will is going to be good? I guess I should do a little math here with regards to Hasted Murktide. So let's say we have some counter war here where I use Pyroblast and Force Blue card. That's 2 things in the yard. Then I mill over, let's say 1 more thing. So it's 3 things in the yard. That's a 7/7 Merc, 7/7, 8, 9. If they crack some fetches. Okay, I think this Wasteland might be better as a Hasted Murktide tool. Let's see if that's true. Opponent is fetching here. Green represents, you know, Veil of Summer, Carpet. But I'm not sure I can worry about that. I feel like the opponent should try and cast something meaningful soon, and here it is. Okay, so we get to our showdown. Counter target spell if it's blue. Pyroblast is not the card my opponent wants to see here. They wanted me to pitch Here's days that I put into the yard. Okay. So now I have a 5/5 Murktide with haste if I want to. Let's try and understand what that does. I do draw that card. So 5/5 Murktide kills my opponent next turn, and then I lean on double force to get there. Murktide Regent. Pyroblast. Okay. So I think now I'm priced into casting Preordain because the incentive with, you know, Chandler, I'll keep this card. And Cutter is so big. And I was super likely to connect here. So let's see. I'm attacking my opponent dead next turn. So I'll just do it like this. Attacking my opponent for 7, and then I think, did I play around days? Would they ever run days in this economy? I'm double forcing. Yeah, I should probably kill that City of Traders. Although I'm not sure I can allow days to be a card. Double force. The opponent is, they have like some payoff, maybe double payoff. Yeah, I think I'm fine passing here. All right. Trying to get there against good old Sneak and Show. This smells like game 3. The opponent was very slow out the gates, and I got there despite the infinite artifacts. So this could be hardcast Atraxa, which is kind of cool to see. Blue, green, white, black, yeah. Okay. Or Lauren revealed? No, it is Atraxa. Okay. Force of Will. Pitch. Force of Negation. I will keep the Brainstorm. And I will force a Pyroblast, I guess. Okay, so we got there in the end. The opponent had double Pyroblast, and I just kept playing red cards, which is kind of funny. So Wasteland here on the draw gets slightly worse. Do I have a better card? The thing is, I don't even think Brazen Bar or Consign are that good of... They're not that great. Let's see. We have 26 blue cards. That is obviously good. You can always use more, though. The Cutter was serviceable because I randomly had the Breathing Room. Random blue card that can attack. Random blue card that can attack. Is that good? Instead of a Wasteland? I'll try and keep the Wasteland. I'm just a bit worried about turn 1, you know, Tropical, Carpet of Flowers, and then my Dazes and Wastelands being terrible. But maybe that's not a game I can afford to worry about. Ooh, this hand is not great, but I think I have to keep it. 4 lands is a lot. Yeah, I'll keep this and trust my cantrips. I think after firing off a few cantrips, I will be at a decent place. So in order to win this game, I probably have to, you know, find a Brainstorm to make sure this land spell ratio is going to get better. But I also have to find Disruption, so Ah, that was a close one. That was a close one. Pyroblast is a good draw. I feel like delaying myself here is decent. I don't think delaying myself here is a crime. Usually it's really not good, but I think with the strength of, you know, soul land stock up, I think it's good. So now we have an interesting one. The opponent shuffled last turn. Yeah, I think it's better to just say, this makes it more likely I can daze your, you know, payoff, and then try and develop a little bit myself here. But I don't like, I should have obviously decided on this before passing the turn what I would do in face of another ponder. Because giving my opponent this tell from me tanking is not, that's not where you want to be. All right, the opponent finds a land. I find a channeler. I think that's what I should play. Don't want to fight back here, so I think playing like this is good. Again, I pass with Pyroblast up. My opponent knows about this by now. I played Volcanic past turn 1. You know. Now I might have a tough decision if the opponent goes tap out here. That card. I feel like I should daze that card. Because sneak attack is such a long way into the future here. Let's get rid of that card, start building Delirium. My opponent showed game 1, they're not interested in fighting over a card like that. Murktide. Could be good later. Right now it's not what I want. Now I can get to Delirium and attack. Let's see how I do that the best. Ponder, shuffle afterwards? No, I think this is better. So I just go Preordain. I do love this Wasteland against what my opponent has shown. Do I like that Brainstorm? Brainstorm is a lot of looks. Let's take that card, draw the Wasteland. Interesting. Which card do I kill here? I think I should kill the green because my opponent drawing Carpet of Flowers would be atrocious. So now I'm in the spot where I'm briefly tapped down, and it works. Based on how the opponent played, I think they had to have a soul land on top there to kind of threaten me. So I think I like my play a lot. Ooh, I made a mistake there. I played a land. Yeah, that was atrocious. Love that card. Yeah, I shouldn't have played a land. I should have did the same as last time. Left open the door for Wasteland, so make sure to do that. I'll put him like this because if my opponent does something, I get to clear the land. If my opponent does nothing, I get to clear the land with my Brainstorm end of turn. All right. My opponent, landlight opponent, is under the clock. Also worth noting, this Murktide might not do anything this game because, first of all, it's shrinking my Chandler, but second of all, I think a big part of my opponent's range here is going to be Pyroblast because, you know, Pyroblast and A+B combo pieces. All right, let's Brainstorm to clear the land. Draw. Get rid of Surveil. Get rid of this card. So let's see. I feel like my Murktide will get killed. If that's the case, can I leave Delirium in my graveyard? So I can go to 9 cards. I can leave 4 cards. Okay, so I can leave Delirium in my graveyard, playing out the Murktide. I think that's what I should do. And then just accept that it gets killed. Okay, the opponent has seen enough. Fair enough. I think the shuffling on the Ponder, the cracking pedal for stock up, that kind of informed that Wasteland was going to be insane against my opponent, and then I was lucky to find a 1-drop to keep up the aggression while doing so. So yeah, got the job done against Sneak and Show. Let's play one more. All right, sorry for interrupting the video. I just wanted to mention a quick word about my MetaFi. These are good examples of the last articles I've uploaded. Deck dumps here. I tweaked a lot of 75s to beat Reanimator. I also had some basically insight how to beat Reanimator. The deck dumps were awesome. Then I had a Jeskai Wizards deck, full guide, lots of tricks against the field. Same for Izzet Cutter, same for Mono Red Prison, same for Demir Reanimator. Basically update very competitive 75s over here. So yeah, I just wanted to mention a quick word about my MetaFi. You can join right now with the code ECO50 to save 50% on the first month of your Booksmart Baron subscription. It would be awesome to see you over there. Thanks so much for watching so far, and let's get back into crushing some Legacy. All right, round 3. The no colored source opener continues. Let's see what we can do here. So bottom the island, I have double channeler and a force. So, you know, I have stuff to do and I can stop my opponent. Oof. That's not what this deck want to see, I can tell you that. Windswept Heath is very, very scary fetch land. That card is acceptable. But I'm sure their deck is full of other stuff that is not acceptable. Let's play a channeler. Cutter the draw, which might be good, but I don't think it's good. I generally think if you go Cutter pass, it's not really a, you know, worthy Legacy play, so to speak. Well, now I guess we learn what the opponent is up to. Okay. Thoughtseize is very annoying. Okay, so the opponent still lets us force the next play if we want to. They get rid of the Cutter. Worth noting is they put an artifact into the graveyard, so there's some racing potential here. That card is fine. So now, okay, they're going to do nothing. Okay. I'll try and do my best to get to Delirium here by going Channeler Ponder. Channeler Ponder. Worth noting is that could easily be an Endurance deck on the side of my opponent. Let's put that into the graveyard. Let's put that into the graveyard. So wait a minute. We didn't get there? No, we didn't get there on Delirium. That is unfortunate. Artifact Lane Sorcery. Yeah, so I guess I should have kept one of the artifacts. Then I dig one deeper. No, I don't think that's a good idea. So let's see here. If I keep this force, I probably get to force something next turn. Yeah, this is not good enough. I will reluctantly accept a trade for Dryad Arbor here. Then I have Delirium on the other one. Tamiyo is going to be my force pitch here for sure. I'm scared about a card like Endurance. I'm scared about cards like Grist. I'm scared about White of the Reliquary, Scythecat Cub. I'm scared about a lot of things here. I'm not scared about Collector Oof, though. Oh, Cradle? Yeah, okay. So play that first. Disguise the Strength. Yeah. Okay, good sequencing. So for the opponent with no play here, which probably means Endurance. But I only have one way forward. That also means I should attack first and play Murktide after, both so that I get in for 3. And, okay, never mind. Interesting. So I could play a 4/4 flyer here, which is really not all that. But it is better than what I'm currently doing. Ooh, I can leave 2 cards. That should probably be Artifact Creature. Okay, so I play a 4/4. Still have a force. What is this? Sure. White of the Reliquary. Why did my opponent do nothing on their turn? I don't think they held up Endurance. That would... Then they should have tried to eat the... Oh, well, maybe they have Endurance and they just knew about the Force and they're trying to find a better spot for it. Okay, here's a land drop. We know about the White of the Reliquary, so I'm going to force that card. Because that card can, you know, get out of hand a little bit. Let's pitch to Tameo. I think that's reasonable. Here's a cantrip. If I put that into the yard, I have instant sorcerer. It's better to just cast it next turn, right? So the white got forced, and now I'm shields down. I'm losing to stuff. Double Exalted here comes in for 4, so we're kind of raising. Okay, so I think my opponent's last card is bad. Probably like a second Cradle. But let's see if I'm right about that. I guess Artifact into the graveyard. Force of Will is not bad. So maybe I draw the Force. Yeah, let's draw the Force of Will. Get in for 7. I think maybe, just maybe, I'm racing this deck. Okay, here comes the Endurance. Oh, Talon Gates, sure. Okay, so the opponent survives the night here. They take 3. Do I have lethal next turn if I don't use this Force of Will? Let's see, 2 things. So this grows. I attack for... No, I don't have lethal. Okay. The opponent did not find a must force, and now I attack for 7 in the air, and I have force. Okay, so I got very lucky. My opponent drew a lot of air this game. Slam Murktide, stay back. Is that more damage? Let's see. Exile 2 things, attack for 6. Back the opponent down to 3, play this card. That means I have 1 blocker. Is that enough? Can't really... I think this is going to be fine as well. So let's play that to stay back with 2 blockers. Attack for 6. And then I have a couple of lethal guys next turn. Okay. Got game 1 over Cradle Control. Not my favorite matchup. That is a very, very hard matchup. So I have some removal spells here that are going to be better than Daze. Force of Will, really not ideal against that deck either. I guess I just add these Collapse and hope for the best. I hope my hand has a Bolt, and Force of Willing those creatures is really bad, but I think it's necessary. All right. Yeah, this is not what you want to face. Green creatures, big toughness, Force of Will bad, Daze bad. In order to have a good matchup against a deck like that, you need something like a Rough Tumble or something, but that is not a viable card to play right now. You need a lot of those green decks and energy variants, death and taxes, stuff like that. If you have a decent number of those, you can justify a sweeper. Or you can just get extremely lucky like I just was. By the way, if this deck has piqued your interest, I have a guide up on my Metafy with this exact 75. I really like the way it's set up. It's somewhat stock, but I do love the baubles. I do love the Molten Collapse Splash. I think it's not free, but it's close to free, and it will help you a lot against Baragoyf, which is the worst thing that can happen for this deck. So you can check that out and all my other content over on my Metafy. Let's see. This hand is going to lose to good hands out of my opponent, so, I mean, I'm not sure what to expect here. Let's see. Turn 1, Noble. My opponent fetched a Duel. I drew Force of Will, which ironically is probably the best draw in my deck at that point. So now I go Channeler, bobble a card from my opponent's hand. Snuff out in response. This is my only clock. How do I deal with that fact? Okay, I'll trust my deck. Here's a Bolt. I like that card. I guess they could run Bowmasters, in theory. So now I have force my opponent's best play, most likely. Kill their land, kill their creature. And then I kind of hope that I buy some time this way. Here's basic forest. I'm pitching a preordain here if I have to. This looks like a Zenith for 2. Let's not have that happen. By the way, maybe Ponder is the worst cantrip here. Yeah, let's do that. So now I'm trying to leave my opponent in the dirt. Let's see if that works. So Wasteland, Lightning Bolt. The problem with this play is all it takes is like a land and a white, and then I'm just not doing anything. Here's another Noble. And a Cradle. And another one. Okay, so I instantly look silly, which is kind of funny. Let's play a land out first and preordain. I guess I like... No, I think this is too slow. Let's get rid of both of those cards. Force of Will. Now all it takes is like a Murktide, I feel like, to win this game. Okay, I find another Bolt. I get salvaged for spewing it on the Noble. Opponent will attack for 2. The opponent has a lot of mana to work with. Okay, they pass. Just feel like they would endurance me if they had it. Okay, they endurance me now. Perfect. I have to force endurance. They don't. Wow. Interesting. I'll cast this Ponder. Ooh, these cards are decent. Problem being... Can I do anything smart here? Cutter and Bolt. My opponent has 1 creature in the graveyard. That means I'm killing a white if they play it. Let's see. If I draw the Cutter now, and I fetch away, fetch Surveil. Okay, I'll try that. Draw the Cutter, fetch Surveil, and then Cutter plus Bolt on my next turn. No endurance. Yeah, I accept. The thing is, I have to bolt a bad creature here. That's kind of annoying. Opponent gets in for 3. It has a lot of mana. They're not doing anything. So what is their hand? Like Snuff Out and Thoughtseize they can't cast? That is very possible. Ooh, maybe I should have just drawn that Bauble to hang on to the Bolt. Yeah, I think I messed up a little bit there. Ah, this deck is too hard. I don't get bailed out. I draw a Crapper. So I guess Bolt the black one, get a 2/2 and start attacking. Yeah, I think I made a mistake there. If I just draw Bauble here, I can slow roll my Bolt. That's a lot better. A lot better. Wasteland. Okay, I guess they play 1 Wasteland. They get rid of the black here. And they attack for 2. I mean, I take this. This is not the end of the world. I feel like I can get out of this. I draw Wasteland. The thing is, I don't feel like my opponent has endurance. Oh. But I think I should do it anyway because I want to play out the cutter. Let's do this. Okay. Let's play cutter. Attack for 3. So am I winning the race here? Because I can at the very least equip on this turn. Okay, so another Cradle was in the hand. That's kind of to be expected, unfortunately, when the opponent is drawing poorly. Land is atrocious. I should equip here. I'm losing to a lot of things, but I don't have the luxury to worry about that. I feel like the opponent just has black spells in hand. Here's Safekeeper. I don't think that card is too scary. I guess it attacks for 3 next turn. I have to think about the clock a little bit here. Very annoyingly so. Channeler with haste. I'm trying to attack my opponent to 1 here. This game has been very weird. The opponent wants to prevent 1 damage here. Ah, they want to unlock drawing a fetch. That is clever. The opponent wants to stay at 2 instead of 1. That's pretty clever. Let's see if they got there. They didn't get there. Yeah, this opponent was just straight up unlucky. Like, they drew so poorly. Infinite Hierarchs, bunch of, you know, redundant Cradles, bad 1/1s. I guess the deck is full of those, but this opponent got very unlucky. But yeah, I mean, I'll take a little 3-0 on camera here. No problem about that. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you liked it, awesome. You could join my MetaFi if you want more content, written content, guides, strategy articles, guest content. And I host all my tournaments. And most importantly, I'm building a big community over there with 180 players so far. And we're just marching forward, trying to become as strong as we can in time for Eternal Weekend. So if that sounds like anything for you, you should join my MetaFi with code ECO50 for a nice 50% off your first month. See if you like it. Stick around if you do. Speaking about sticking around, I hope to see you around in the future for more awesome legacy videos. Thanks for watching.